Welcome to PBS 39's Scholastic Scrimmage. Scholastic Scrimmage is brought to you by the members of PBS 39 and by...
Scholastic Scrimmage is sponsored by St. Luke's University Health Network, the region's leading provider of medical education. For more than 100 years, St. Luke's has been dedicated to educating physicians, nurses, and healthcare professionals. To learn more, call St. Luke's InfoLink, toll free at 866 St. Luke's, or visit sluhn.org.
Support for PBS 39's educational programming is provided by the Deluxe Corporation Foundation, proud to support quality programming on PBS 39.
Scholarships provided by the Air Products Foundation. And now, here's your host, Joe Pacetti.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Scholastic Scrimmage on PBS 39. I'm your host, Joe Pacetti, and it's a pleasure to serve as your quizmaster. It's that time again, folks. The clock has struck random trivia time. Ben and Jerry learned how to make ice cream by taking a $5 correspondence course offered by Penn State. They decided to split one of the courses. Mark Twain invented a board game called Mark Twain's Memory Builder, a game for acquiring and retaining all sorts of facts and dates. Failed Pez flavors include coffee, eucalyptus, menthol, and flour. James Avery, who played Uncle Phil on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, was the voice of Shredder the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle cartoon. Editor Bennett Cerf challenged Dr. Seuss to write a book using no more than 50 different words. The result? Green eggs and ham. Jay used to be slang for foolish person, so when a pedestrian ignored street signs, he was referred to as a jaywalker. And there was an eclectic cast of characters on one of my personal favorite shows, Reading Rainbow. Among them, Julia Child, Patrick Stewart, Run DMC, Kermit the Frog, Jane Goodall, Richard Gere, Jeff Bridges, Jason Alexander, Marv Albert, James Earl Jones, and Susan Sarandon. Moving on to official business. Today's contest is between the Whitehall Zephyrs and the Stroudsburg Mountaineers. Let's meet the team, starting with Stroudsburg.
Hello, my name is Antonio Stylianides, and I'm a senior.
Hello, my name is Jesse Boys, and I'm a senior.
My name is Zach Spritzer, and I'm a senior.
My name is Zachary Osman, and I'm a junior.
Stroudsburg's coaches are Deborah Thornhill and Sandy Stryba. Now the team from Whitehall.
Hello, my name is Alexander Edinger, and I'm a junior.
Hi, my name is Miles Blumenau, and I'm a senior.
Hi, my name is Magena Kennedy, and I'm a senior.
Hi, my name is Samantha Ganser, and I'm a junior.
Whitehall's coach is Steve Adams. Our judges for today's contest are Sally Campbell, Gary DeLeo, and Kathleen Steele. At the end of the season, the two final teams will win scholarships for their schools from the Air Products Foundation. To our audience, this contest requires rapid recall of facts and favors the resolute. Performances on this stage are not necessarily reflective of these students' academic experiences. And remember, it's always easier to be an armchair quizmaster than a competitor in this arena. We understand the rules, so let's begin the contest with a toss-up. Troglobites are animals that dwell in what structures that are often formed by the dissolution of limestone and whose roofs? Whitehall.
Caves.
Caves is correct. And your bonus. Explorer Thor Heyerdahl traveled from South America to Polynesia on what balsa wood raft named for an Incan sun god? Miles.
Kon-Tiki.
Kon-Tiki is correct. Toss-up. What country's novels include one about 108 outlaws, Water Margin, as well as one about a man born with jade in his mouth, Dream of the Red Chamber? We were looking for China, was the correct response. Toss-up. What man, who in 1939 became U.S. Army Chief of Staff, was Secretary of the State when he proposed a plan to give Europe economic aid after World War II? George Marshall. George Marshall. Toss-up. What law states that the rate of change of linear momentum equals the net force, but is more often expressed in terms of mass and acceleration? Whitehall.
Newton's second law of motion.
Newton's second law of motion is correct, and your bonus. What Zen-influenced American composer of 5 imaginary landscapes based his music of changes on the I Ching? John Cage was the composer. Toss-up. The cost of nursing a beggar's child is said to be 2 shillings a year. And what Jonathan Swift satire? Whitehall.
Modest Proposal.
A Modest Proposal is correct, and don't take its advice literally. Your bonus. What French Jewish artillery officer was imprisoned at Devil's Island because of espionage actually committed by Ferdinand Esterhazy? That would be Alfred Dreyfus of the Dreyfus Affair. Toss-up. What film, in which Marion Crane runs away with $40,000, depicts a murder in a shower that is seemingly... Stroudsburg.
Psycho.
Psycho is correct. And your bonus. What term describes any substance, such as air or water, that is capable of propagating a wave? Zach.
Medium.
Medium is correct. Your next toss-up is a visual, pencil and paper ready, and your attention to the monitor. What is the perimeter of the triangle whose vertices are at 1, 1, 1, 5? Whitehall.
12 units.
12 is correct, and your bonus. The political slogan, Workers of the World Unite, originates from what 1848 pamphlet by a pair of authors? Miles.
Common Sense.
Common Sense is incorrect. We're looking for the Communist Manifesto by Marx and Engels. Toss-up. What character, who mistakes a barber's wash basin for the helmet of Mambrino, promises an insula to Sancho Panza in a novel by Miguel de Cervantes? Whitehall.
It's Don Quixote.
That is correct, and your bonus. What contemporary of Shakespeare was murdered at age 29 and wrote, "We will all the pleasures prove," in his poem, The Passionate Shepherd to His Love? Miles.
Christopher Marlowe.
Christopher Marlowe is correct. Toss-up. Alexander Majors co-founded what service whose workers included Buffalo Bill Cody, which began in St. Joseph and which sent mail via horseback? Whitehall.
The Pony Express.
Pony Express is correct, and your bonus is pencil and paper ready. What is the greatest common divisor of 44 and 187, given that 187 has only 4 factors, 2 of which are 1 and 187? Miles.
90.
90 is incorrect. 11. 11 was the correct response. Toss-up. The Azadi Tower is found in what city north of Ishkan, which is separated from the Caspian Sea by the Alborz Mountains and is the capital of Iran? Whitehall.
Tehran.
Tehran is correct, and your bonus. In Sigmund Freud's model of the psyche, which structure is responsible for incorporating social rules and norms? Miles.
The ego.
Ego is incorrect. It's the superego. Superego. There was id, superego, and ego. Toss-up. What head of state has dealt with the 2014 Iguala mass kidnapping and the escape of El Chapo Guzman while serving as president of Mexico? Whitehall.
Enrique Nieto.
That is correct, and your bonus. Many Berbers live in what mountain range whose highest point is Jebel Toubkal in Morocco? Miles.
The Algiers Mountains.
We're looking for the Atlas Mountains. Atlas Mountains. Toss-up. What novel in which the Bokanovsky process is used to artificially fertilize eggs is a depiction of a dystopian society written by Aldous Huxley? Brave New World. Brave New World was the novel.
Lightning round!
At the beginning of our contest, we conducted a coin toss to determine who would go first. Whitehall, you won the coin toss, so what I'll do is I will read 2 categories for you. You'll select one of those categories. You'll have 1 minute to respond to 10 questions. You cannot confer during that time, but anybody can buzz in. And just make sure that you're maintaining eye contact with me so I can just, you buzz and tell me the answer, okay? Your 2 options are J names and English poets.
Probably English poets.
Which one was it?
We're choosing English poets.
All right, very good, Miles. Perfect. English poets. What English poet wrote Paradise Lost?
John Milton.
Correct. The Rime of the Ancient Mariner.
Pass.
I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud, also known as Daffodils.
Pass.
The Holy Sonnets, which include Batter My Heart, the 3-personed God.
John Donne.
Correct. Sonnets from the Portuguese.
Pass.
Verse published under the pseudonym Ellis Bell.
Pass.
The collection of songs of innocence and of experience.
Pass.
She Walks in Beauty and Don Juan.
Pass.
The sonnet on first looking into Chapman's Homer. Okay. And that will bring us to the end of it. Keats was the response to the last question there. So Stroudsburg, that leaves us with J names. Same rules apply. You have 1 minute. Anybody can ring in. No conferring. Identify these people whose names start with the letter J. Founder of the Rainbow Coalition.
Pass.
3rd U.S. President.
Jefferson.
Correct. First Stuart ruler of England.
Pass.
Founding father of Pakistan.
Pass.
Indigenous Zapotec president of Mexico.
Pass.
U.S. naval captain of the USS Bonhomme Richard.
Pass.
Inventor of the smallpox vaccine.
Pass.
Nez Perce chief who vowed, "I will fight no more forever."
Pass.
Swiss founder of analytical psychology.
Pass.
Co-founder and chairman of Apple who died in 2011.
Pass.
Okay, that was all of them. Steve Jobs was the last one. The Apple co-founder, Steve Jobs. That'll be the end of our first lightning round, and we will return to our toss-ups. The rebellions of Perkin Warbeck and Lambert Simnel targeted what king who won the 1485 Battle of Bosworth and became England's first Tudor monarch? Henry VII was the response we were looking for. What novel, in which Sophia is imprisoned for punching a mayor in the face, includes Cecily's letters to God and was written by Alice Walker? It was The Color Purple, and I actually misspoke. It's Seeley, not Cecily. Toss-up. In 2017, statues of Jefferson Davis and Robert E. Lee were removed from what city on the Mississippi River? Whitehall.
New Orleans.
New Orleans is correct, and your bonus. What type of longitudinal wave has a rate of propagation of approximately 343 meters per second in dry air? Miles.
An infrared light wave.
Incorrect. Sound waves. Sound waves was the correct response. And with that, that brings us to halftime. The score at the half is Whitehall 130, Stroudsburg 30. Let's have a hand for our teams. At the break during each show, we like to take an opportunity to get to know more about our competitors. This week, we're going to find out what person, past or present, each of our contenders on stage would have dinner with and why. We'll start over here with Stroudsburg.
I'd meet with Leisman and ask him how he thought of the idea of calculus.
I would meet with Napoleon and ask him about how he came up with his battle strategies.
I would meet with Newton and ask him about where else he thought he could look for different kinds of diversity.
I would meet with Isaac Newton and see how he invented his side of calculus.
Wonderful, thank you, team. Whitehall.
I would meet with Alexander the Great so I could learn about his battle tactics.
I'd meet with Jimmy Carter so I could learn about his presidency and volunteer work.
I would meet with Malala and ask her at that age what was going through her head when everything around her was crumbling.
I would meet with Michelle Obama to ask her about how she handled life in the public eye.
Wonderful, guys. Thank you so much. We have Malala and Michelle Obama. Those are both way better than Guy Fieri, okay, as are Sir Isaac Newton, et cetera. So thank you so much. We appreciate it. Let's go back to our toss-up, shall we? Our next question is a video question. Your attention to the monitors, please.
I'm here in the fields.
What band behind the rock operas Quadrophenia and Tommy featured guitarist Pete Townsend on Behind Blue Eyes, Baba O'Reilly, and My Generation?
Whitehall.
Who?
The Who is correct. And your bonus, what Catholic convert wrote about the reminiscences of Charles Ryder, who befriends Julia and Sebastian Flyte in his novel Brideshead Revisited? Evelyn Waugh is the correct response. Toss-up. What substance travels through vessel elements and tracheids, is transported by the xylem, is released during transpiration, and has formula H2O? Whitehall.
Water.
Water is correct. And your bonus. In February 2017, scientists announced the discovery of an underwater continent named after what South Pacific country? Miles.
New Zealand.
New Zealand is correct. Toss-up. The words quotidian and journey are derived from Latin and French words, respectively, for what unit of time equal to 1,440 minutes or 24 hours? Whitehall.
A day.
A day is correct. Your next, or your bonus rather, is a visual. Your attention to the monitors, pencil and paper ready. In terms of x, what is the volume of a square-based pyramid whose height is 3x and whose base has sides each measuring 2x? Miles.
4x cubed.
4x cubed is correct. Toss-up. What leader, who was exiled from 1955 to 1973, called his followers descamados, and was an Argentine president supported by his wives Isabel and Eva? Whitehall.
Juan Perón.
That is correct. And your bonus. Bob Odenkirk plays the title lawyer and scam artist on what AMC show that is a spin-off of Breaking Bad? It'd be Better Call Saul, is the correct response there. Toss-up, pencil and paper ready? What product results from multiplying together all of the integers from -5 to +4 inclusive? Zero. Zero is response if it's inclusive. Toss-up. Thelonious Monk played what instrument whose stride style? Strasbourg.
Piano.
Piano is correct, and your bonus. What Jan Vermeer painting shows a woman wearing a blue and gold turban and a teardrop-shaped piece of jewelry as she glances at the viewer? Zach.
Girl with the pearl earring.
That is correct. Toss-up. What holiday in which people throw crumbs into water in the Tashlich ceremony comes 9 days before Yom Kippur and celebrates the Jewish New Year? Whitehall.
Rosh Hashanah.
That is correct, and your bonus. Who described her childhood in frontier locations such as Big Woods, Wisconsin, and Independence, Kansas, in her series of Little House books? Only the captain can respond with the bonus. It's okay. You can confer. Miles.
Laura Ingalls Wilder.
That is correct. Laura Ingalls Wilder. Very good.
Lightning round!
Because Whitehall had the selection first, Strasburg, you'll get to pick the first category of the two. Same rules apply, 1 minute, no conferring. You have the options of jukebox musicals and chocolate.
Chocolate.
Chocolate, very well considered. We'll go with chocolate. Answer the following about chocolate. City in Pennsylvania known as the Chocolate Town, USA.
Hershey.
Correct. Graham crackers, chocolate, and this product are ingredients in standard s'mores.
Marshmallow.
Correct. Swiss chocolate bar with an iconic triangular shape.
Toblerone.
Correct. Tom Hanks character who said life is like a box of chocolates.
Forrest Gump.
Correct. African nation that produces a third of the world's cocoa and whose cities include Abidjan.
Pass.
British company that produces chocolate cream eggs.
Cadbury.
Correct. Child who falls into a chocolate river in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Augustus Gloop.
Correct. Aztec language from which the word chocolate may originate.
Pass.
Robert Cormier book in which confections are sold as a fundraiser.
Pass.
The operetta The Chocolate Soldiers based on this Irish author's play Arms and the Man.
Pass.
Okay, that is all the questions. George Bernard Shaw was the last question last response we were looking for there. So Whitehall, that's going to leave us with jukebox musicals. Same rules, 1 minute, anybody can buzz in, no conferring. Name the musical act, performer, or group whose works are featured in these musicals. Moving out.
Pass.
Ring of Fire.
Johnny Cash.
Correct. Good Vibrations.
The Beach Boys.
Correct. Thriller, live.
Michael Jackson.
Correct. Mamma Mia.
ABBA.
Correct. Come Fly Away.
Pass.
We Will Rock You.
Queen.
Correct. American Idiot.
Green Day.
Correct. Jersey Boys.
Pass.
On Your Feet.
Pass.
That's all the questions. Gloria Estefan was the last one. Not fans of On Your Feet? I'm not either. But that works. Very good. And Frank Sinatra was Come Fly Away. Must be a generational thing. That's all right. Let's go back to our toss-ups. Antofagasta is a major copper exporting port in what country that contains most of the Atacama Desert and whose capital city is Santiago? Whitehall.
Chile.
Chile is correct, and your bonus. In 2016, what country's government rendered invalid all 500 and 1,000 value banknotes of its currency, the rupee? Miles.
India.
That is correct. Toss-up. What war depicted in the photograph The Harvest of Death was documented by photographer Matthew Brady, who made the exhibition Whitehall?
The Civil War.
Civil War is correct. And your bonus. What element whose isotope 40 is produced by the electron capture of potassium-40 is the most abundant noble gas in Earth's atmosphere? Miles.
Neon.
Neon is incorrect. Argon was the correct response. Toss-up. What African empire, whose forces were beaten at the 1838 Battle of Blood River, fought the British in the 1870s? Strasbourg.
The Zulu.
Zulu is correct. And your bonus. According to legend, Galileo dropped 2 cannonballs of different mass off of what structure, which was built on a foundation that was too soft? Zach.
The Leaning Tower of Pisa.
That is correct. Toss-up. 1 over the age of the universe is the approximate value of a parameter named for what astronomer who also lends his name to a NASA space telescope? Whitehall.
Hubble.
Hubble is correct, and your bonus. Thomas Nast's cartoons helped end the career of what boss of Tammany Hall, who stole millions of dollars from New York City in the 19th century? Miles.
Boss Tweed.
Boss Tweed is correct. Toss-up. The quote, "Round up the usual suspects," comes from what 1942 film in which Rick Blaine, played by Humphrey Bogart, owns a club in a Moroccan city? Casablanca would be the correct response there. Toss-up. What king, 4 statues of whom are found at Abu Simbel, was a member of the 19th dynasty, was married to Nefertari, and was called a great pharaoh? That would be Ramses II. Toss-up. What park that is home to the Obsidian Cliff is near the Grand Tetons was established by Ulysses Grant and is the site of the geyser Old Faithful? Whitehall.
Yellowstone.
Yellowstone is correct, and your bonus. What man who names a 1794 treaty that addressed trade relations with Britain preceded John Rutledge as Chief Justice of the Supreme Court? Miles.
John Jay.
John Jay is correct. Toss-up. Oren and Lavinia avenged their father, General Ezra Manon, who was murdered by his wife Christine in what retelling of the Oresteia by Eugene O'Neill? It would be Morning Becomes Electra. Toss-up. What empire lost the Battle of Königgrätz and the 7 Weeks' War to Prussia and was the largest German-speaking state not incorporated into Germany? Stroudsburg.
The Austro-Hungarian Empire.
That is correct. And we will go to your bonus. What author described the life of the Lithuanian immigrant Rutkus family in a novel set against the backdrop of the Chicago meatpacking industry?
Upton Sinclair.
Upton Sinclair is correct. Toss-up. What god, who gives Odysseus the molly plant to protect him from Circe, freed Io from the captivity of Argos and served as the Greek messenger god? Stroudsburg.
Hermes.
Hermes is correct. And your bonus. The humerus, radius, and ulna meet at what hinge point? Go ahead, Zach.
The elbow.
Elbow is correct. Toss-up. What set, according to the fundamental theorem of algebra, contains all polynomial solutions and consists of numbers with real and imaginary parts? Whitehall.
Complex numbers.
Complex numbers is correct, and your bonus. A museum devoted to the work of Salvador Dali is in what Florida city, which is known as the Sunshine City and is near Tampa? Only Miles can answer that. It's okay. Miles, go ahead.
Clearwater.
Clearwater's incorrect. St. Petersburg. St. Petersburg was the correct response there. That brings us to the end of our contest. The final score is Whitehall 350, Stroudsburg 170. Let's have a hand for both of our teams. And congratulations to Whitehall. It's always a pleasure to watch the best and brightest showcase their immense talents, and we wish Stroudsburg the best of luck in their academic endeavors. On behalf of Scholastic Scrimmage and PBS 39, thank you for your continued support and viewership. Though they may be, at times, teams of rivals, one truth remains. You can't beat brains.
Scholastic Scrimmage is brought to you by the members of PBS 39 and by
Scholastic Scrimmage is sponsored by St. Luke's University Health Network, the region's leading provider of medical education. For more than 100 years, St. Luke's has been dedicated to educating physicians, nurses, and healthcare professionals. To learn more, call St. Luke's InfoLink, toll free at 866 St. Luke's, or visit sluhn.org.
Support for PBS 39's educational programming is provided by the Deluxe Corporation Foundation, proud to support quality programming on PBS 39.
This program is recorded at the PPL Public Media Center at PBS 39 in Bethlehem.